Alright guys, so here's my computer case. We're going to start off by taking this thing apart and then we'll get started to putting everything in here. So let's go. Alright guys, so I just took off the two panels of our computer case here. You can see here that they come with a little box here with all the little screws and accessories that you're going to need for putting the CPU cooler in and a whole bunch of other accessories. So we're going to need that. That's all that comes in the box. When I start taking out some of these drive bays here, so I got some more room, take all these zip ties out and then let's go. So, before I start taking some more stuff apart like the drive bays, I want to take a look at this bare bones case here with none of the stuff on it. We can see that it's got a nice sleek design here. Right here you can see that it's the drive bay side, but the actual glass piece or the section that you can see the motherboard through, it's got a nice open view of this part and none of this. And also this nice cover that covers all our wires that go into our power supply that we have here. So I just taken off the front panel, these two panels where the wires are going to be hidden through the back, and also the top, because for the top we're going to be putting in a nice large 280 millimeter water cooler for our CPU. So I want to make sure I have lots of room where I can maneuver things around. If we turn this around, you can see we got a nice dust filter over the front. It's magnetic. These fans will be just fine for now. I will get the new Corsair ones that come out with the LED lights that go in there. It'll be real nice. It's a real nice filter, nice and easy to clean. If we go around, here's all our cables. Here's a little the controllers that control all the fans for when we need it the most. You don't have to use it, but you can if you want. If we come down to the bottom first, we also have a dust filter down here, which will be used for our which will be used for the power supply on the bottom. We have lots of airflow vents through here, and also water cooling ports on the side. So this is a nice case. Lots of stuff you can do with this case. It is a mid case, but it has a lot of things. So before I get started on the rest, I want to show you, here's just the front cover. If I turn it on the inside, we have a material here. It is actually a sound deadening material. It's a foam that covers on here, the side, the inside. Make sure your case is very silent and keeps you from hearing a lot of the fan noise and everything else. So now that I explained some of that, we're taking this off. I think the first thing we need to do is start getting the CPU out and putting that into the motherboard. So let's get started on that. Here we go. Let's get started. Let's stop here real quick. We got the back plating. We've got some cords that we're going to be using for our motherboard here. Make sure we put this on our case before we put our motherboard in so we don't have any problems of trying to get everything else in. So let's get started on the rest. Here is our beautiful, nice motherboard. Looks very nice. So we got RAM and our nice CPU. So let's put this stuff in. Alright, so I wanted to say this real quick. This is a little different from some of the other CPUs, but we got a tab we got to pull here and also here so we can take off the cover to get our CPU in. So all you got to do is press the one in and you can let that out. It won't go out all the way. And then you go to the other one here. Gonna pop that up and out. And then you can lift the cover right out. And there we go. So now we can pop this little backing plate off here. Go to our CPU. Make sure you look at the coordination on the arrows. As you can see, my arrow is right in the corner, and if you look on the board, there's a little arrow right there. So we'll just place that in there very nicely. Make sure it's in there. That's pretty simple. That's pretty much it. You can close that down, and then we can put the tabs back on and get started on with the rest of the build. Alright, now it's RAM time. Take out these RAM out of the packages and let's stick that in the board also. Alright, so we just installed our RAM, which looks very nice with this motherboard, and I got our CPU installed. So make sure you look at your motherboard manual to see exactly how the RAM is supposed to be installed, as mine was in channels 1, 3, 7, and the last one. That's because I had 4 sticks, so if I obviously get another 4, I can plug the rest of the 4 into all of them and that'd be alright. So that's it for the RAM. Now that we set up pretty much the motherboard with all of its main stuff that it needs, and obviously the video card will be last in the build, now we can start putting the cooler in and putting that into the case and the CPU. Alright, here is our water cooler, 250mm H115i water cooler by Corsair. Got a really good deal on this, so let's take this sucker out, put it in the case. Alright guys, so if we look at this here, I just installed it. I removed one of the bays because of the water cooling pipes. They're pretty thick. I mean, they're about 1 inch thick, so I removed one of the bays, which is fine because I'm only going to be using one of them, and then an SSD will be down here. But we can see that this fit just right. I actually could have put a 360mm radiator up here, but that would be a little overkill, but This works just fine and looks real nice. I just got all the screws put in. You can see under there we got all the fans coming through. We're to manage all the cables. One of the next things we got to do is take the cooler and mount it to the CPU, which should be a little tough because of these tough lines, but we got to put the backing plate on first, and we'll get to that in a second. So we got all this installed in here, looks good. This CPU does not need a back plate for the water cooler because it's LGA 2011. So you just put the different standoffs in here and make sure they're nice and tight. And now that we got everything lined up, your case should have came with the correct screws. All you gotta do is take these screws and you're gonna stick them in all these little spots where you have all the different holes in. And then you just screw them in, and then the motherboard should be fully installed into our case. So let me go get the correct screwdriver, and then let's get started. So all I have to do next is connect this big thing, which is actually very close. So we can zoom out just a little bit. Got this right here. So all we got to do is make sure it's in a nice direction, and then we can put this in place on our standoffs here. And with the provided accessories, it comes with these very nice heavy duty and sturdy bolts here. Kind of feels like it's part of a lug nut on a car almost. But it has thermal paste already applied. I'm sure I'll replace that eventually with some better stuff yet, but this will do fine just for now. It's a little tough on the lines because these cables are so heavy duty, but we can always maneuver them a little bit better after we get everything put in place and the cooler set where it needs to be. So you just screw these in about hand tight for now, and then you can go back and screw them in properly. So now we got all this in here. Now we're just gonna go and tighten them and make sure everything's nice and tight on each of the spots here. You can obviously tighten this stuff a lot more now that you have a screwdriver. Just make sure all these are nice and snug so that it makes good contact with your CPU. Alright, there we go. So this looks very nice. I love how it looks with the cooler in here. This will obviously glow because it's got a USB port around the side here, and it came with all these extra cables we need for the cooling process. So this is looking very nice so far. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to start getting some of the power supply out, show you guys everything that's in the box with that, and then we can get all the cabling done. So let's get to the next part. So here's everything all set up here on the motherboard. I gotta say, it's coming out very nice, very nice. The cooler looks great, tubing looks great. I took out a few more drive bays. I might put one more back, I don't know, we'll see. I don't really need it because I only got one. I got a few of the connectors plugged in on the bottom, and I was making sure everything's managed quite nicely. There are cables, of course. You got a few cables down there. And also this cable here, I actually gotta wire this one up. This one will connect to one of the fan headers, of course, and or the USB spot for the USB. The next thing I got to do is unbox this beauty of a beast here, the 850 G2 power supply. Got a great deal on Newegg for this, so let's see if I can get this thing open, show you guys what's inside the box. I heard they got some nice stuff in here. And here we go. A lot of this stuff looks great. We got a nice little bag here that we can store some of our extra cables we may have. We have the cable that connects into the back, into the power of the whole entire thing. And we have all of our cables that we're going to be using to connect all of them to our motherboards. They're nice cables, braided cables, but what's nice is all of these connect right into the back of the CPU, or not the CPU, the power supply, PCU. And then you should be able to actually use custom wires if you would like to add your own style to them. My case is black, so I really don't care. But that's really a couple screws, but we got all of these nice cables in here, plenty of them. And we have our big power supply here. So I won't take this out because it weighs a little bit. I don't want to have to juggle the camera around. But I'll skip over to the video of me taking this out and putting it into the back of our nice monster build. So let's get to the next part. Here is the power supply. This is a beautiful power supply. Even though you really won't see it at all in this case, but it's just very nice. All the connections are so nice in here. The overall look and aesthetics of this power supply is very nice. But I went ahead and connected just a few things, like part of the CPU and also the power connections. So I can just, all I gotta do is put this in and plug these straight into the back. I also have the cable for my hard drive and also another cable for some of the fans. But that's pretty much it. Really won't need anything else besides the VGA and stuff for the graphics cards. So let's get to putting this in and putting some cables in.